You know what? You kept saying to the right, and I didn't see it because it was hidden.
Good. So, but you got it. So it was just, for some reason it was muted.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, great. What can I help you with this evening?
Oh, I have lots of questions, but I don't want to monopolize.
You're the only person that signed up for tonight, so you
Oh,
ask
excellent.
away.
Oh, cool. This is great. My first question is if I have a love-hate relationship with Time Warner Cable, and I wondered the Apple ID, is there a way to change the email? Because currently it's configured to my Time Warner Cable account,
Yes, there.
which I understand that would always be the same.
Yes. So as far as Time Warner goes, you can leave your app. You can leave whatever email address behind and add a new email address into your Apple ID. It's a confusing thing to a lot of people, but before I even kind of go down that road, if you walk away from, say, you're on AOL and you've used AOL for the last 10 years and you're ready to give up that email address, just because you give up the email address doesn't mean you have to give up that AOL, I mean, that Apple ID. The Apple ID, you look at
Right.
it as an email address, but Apple doesn't care whether that it's a working email address or
Yeah.
not. So you could keep that, and a lot of people I work with keep their Roadrunner email address as their Apple ID, even though they might switch over to AT&T. There's no harm in doing that at all. It's just, you might feel kind of dirty having that old email or something. But if you would like to
Oh, I
change,
don't mind that. I just didn't know the process for actually changing the email address.
I'll show you the process if you want to. The reason I kind of hesitate to point people in that direction is because Apple IDs are already so confusing. It's never an elegant. It's not just a little one-click kind of thing, but it doesn't always work the way it's supposed to. So I'll show you what you would do, but I would put
Okay.
up a big warning saying if you change this email address, problems can occur. And maybe it's just my lack of understanding of Apple IDs with email addresses, but
Hmm.
I deal with it every day. So if you go to appleid.apple.com, and you don't have to
Okay.
do it right now. I'm just going to walk you through it, and I'll do it on my end so you can kind of see what this is like. So apple.id.apple.com. Then you're going to select to manage your Apple ID, and from there you're going to add in your current Apple ID, which is an email address, and your current your current password. And then you'll get into an area, and actually I can't go any farther than this, and I'll tell you that in a minute. But you'll get to an area that it says email address, and you'll select that email address, and you can change it to what you'd like it to be. And from that point on, your Apple ID is this new email address. I'm
All right.
I'm just kind of old school about it because it scares me a little bit doing that. Uh,
Well,
it,
my thought is if we get rid of Time Warner Cable, we'd like to keep the Apple ID, the hfulton at carolina.rr.com,
yeah,
which will just be an ID. It wouldn't matter that
right.
it's no longer connected to,
And, and you can
because
do
we have
that.
so many, we have so many purchased items.
Yeah, yeah, you can do that.
Mhm.
Just leave that Apple ID alone if you want and abandon Time Warner completely. Your email will stop, or that email, if you've used that email address in the past, that would stop. You wouldn't get any more email. I worked with a person earlier today that had me come over because their email wasn't working anymore. And after about 5 minutes of conversation and me trying to go, what? I don't know why your email's not working. You say this is the password, it's not working. They had canceled their Roadrunner account and moved to AT&T. And T. And of course, your email
Hmm.
dies when that happens, but not as
Yeah.
a username. The big mistake on this in Apple's, this is really a big mistake I feel on Apple's part. When they ask you to create an Apple ID, they basically are asking you to create an Apple ID based on your email address. We think of email addresses as things that could die and whatnot, but it's just a username. They should have said create a username, and your username could have been
Yeah,
but
create a unique username would have been better.
exactly, but
Yeah.
they don't do that. So,
All right.
all right.
Well, that's good to know. My other question is, do you have a favorite type of backup drive that you use?
Yes, I do. The favorite drive that I have is, and I'll write it down here at the bottom, is called the Seagate Backup Plus. Uh, the Seagate Backup Plus fails less often than all the other drives. And when I mean
Okay.
it fails less often, can you see me on the screen?
Yeah, I
Okay.
can.
Watch this. This is in the last couple of weeks. 1, 2 dead hard drives, 3 dead hard drives, 4 dead hard drives,
Whoa.
5 dead hard drives, 6, 7, 8. These I've done these in the last, say, week and a half. Every hard drive dies. Every hard drive. So just like every tire goes flat. So this is a Seagate that died. Hitachi, Samsung, Matsushita. There are a million drive. Well, there's only like 5 drive manufacturers. The ones that I feel die the most often are Western Digital. This is a Western Digital. This is a Western Digital. This is a Seagate that died. This is another Western Digital that died, and another Hitachi. My point is the Seagates die least often.
Okay. Do you change them out every once in a while?
No.
Every few years?
No,
or how do
you just have a backup drive, and you ride it until it does die. There's no reason to preemptively change a hard drive. I mean, not in my opinion, at the consumer level.
It's not like a tire. Okay.
Not like a what?
All right.
Like a
But not like a tire where you're changing them out every
right.
so many miles.
Yeah,
kind
in
of
that
thing.
respect, it's not. Just run it. Now, if it
Well,
starts,
I like it too. Yeah.
if it makes a clicking sound, or if it starts physically behaving inappropriately, then yeah, go ahead and change it before it dies.
Okay. All right.
Flash
Sounds good.
drives, the new drives. Gosh, here's more hard drives over here. I didn't even see. Flash drives. They don't die very often at all because there are no moving parts. The commonality in what I was just showing you is every one of those things has a moving part on it. Whereas a phone that also has a hard drive, there's no moving part, so nothing is physically there to break.
Mm-hmm.
Physically moving.
But flash drives aren't big enough for your entire hard drive, right?
They're just more expensive. Yeah, you can buy a MacBook Pro, MacBook Airs, all the laptops now that you buy have flash drives in them. All of these iOS devices have flash drives. The iMacs don't necessarily come standard with flash drives because on an iMac you want a larger amount of space because it's more like a big headquarters for all your data, whereas laptops oftentimes are more floating and transferable and that kind of thing. But it's really expensive. Flash drives cost a lot more money to manufacture, at least at this point. So it doesn't. You're going to spend $1,000 for a really large flash drive, so it's not cost effective.
Okay, yeah, I'm just planning to get 2 and just swap it out every month or so, put it on, like you said, a secure offsite place.
Right.
So I don't lose all my pictures. That's my concern.
And while you were talking about pictures, I've always said to people, you need to have your data in at least 2 places: where you use it, and then backed up somewhere. And really 3 places is fantastic. Where you use it, that is your iMac, backed up somewhere off-site, and then backed up, the 3 places are on your iMac, on the hard drive right next to your iMac, and then on a hard drive not inside your house. But with iCloud Photo Library now in OS 10.10, which is Yosemite, and now El Capitan, they've replaced iPhoto with Photos, and now you can turn on iCloud Photo Library, and all of your pictures can be saved up to the internet. So that's yet a 4th place if you use the 2 hard drive strategy.
And actually, when you were here, I did that with the cloud. But you said don't use it as backup. So.
Yeah, iCloud is not a backup for your computer, but it's a good place for your pictures to be stored just in case the other backups fail.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Great. The other question I had is we're going to be traveling abroad, and people always get those Wi-Fi's hacked, and I just wondered if there was any special safety things we should do while we're in Europe to avoid getting hacked.
Okay, a couple of things. If you're traveling outside of the United States, the first thing you want to do, and this is not really Wi-Fi security, but this is just one of the things that I deal with all the time, is call the phone company, whether it's AT&T or Verizon or whatever, and let them know that you need the international plan, just for that period of time, depending on how long you're going to be out of the country. So if you're out of the country for, say, a month, then you want to pay for the international plan just to bleed over a little bit. So if you get back on the 13th, you might want to pay for it until the 15th or the 16th, because sometimes charges appear on your bill even after you got back to the United States, and those, as you may have seen in the past, they can be crazy money. But as far as security abroad or even in the United States, never, ever, ever join an open Wi-Fi network. So if you have
Okay.
two networks that you have a choice of joining, one has a password, and that password is even published in bold letters over the cash register of the, let's say, the business that you're at, or you have another place that has just an open Wi-Fi network with no password. Never join that open Wi-Fi network. That's
Okay.
that's the first thing. Number two, so if I'm in the same hotel with you, and that hotel, and I'm a bad guy, and that hotel has a password on their network, your information is encrypted back and forth between the router, just as my information is encrypted. So I can see that you're on the network, I can see you're doing something, but I can't see that data. Whereas on an open Wi-Fi network, you're checking your email, whatever, boom, I get your password, because that's not encrypted, even though
Okay.
we both know the same password on the encrypted network. But the more logical thing, and this is just more common sense, I deal with a lot of people that get their emails hacked into and just credit card stuff stolen. Uh, and it happens a lot in the islands like Grand Cayman, Bermuda, just anywhere in the Caribbean, really. So if you're going to travel overseas, don't be what I call a mark. When you get off the airplane, there are networks of bad guys. Some of these, let's say, they all live in the same apartment complex, and maybe I'm making a stereotypical comment,
Hmm.
but they all live together or near each other. They're all friends with each other. Some of those people work at the resort hotel where the tourist is going. Some of those people work at the hotels. Some of those people work as cab drivers. Some of those people work at the airports. And what they'll do is they will all communicate with each other. And when you get off the airplane, the first thing they do is they look at how expensive are your clothes, and mainly is the diamond ring. How big is the ring on your finger? That's the first giveaway, because depending on what socioeconomic level you're at, your ring is larger or smaller for a lot of people. That's a stereotypical statement, but it's a true statement. And
Hmm.
if you get off of that airplane with a very large diamond ring, you are marked right away. And so the airport guy is going to talk to the resort guy, or the cab driver is going to talk to the hotel guy, and they're going to network with each other, and they're going to find out who it's who it's worth their time to follow and get information from over whatever Wi-Fi network that you're on. And the first dead giveaway of that is your appearance and how you look.
Hmm.
So and I'm not saying that because of any way that you look personally. I'm just saying that that's a general statement, and I've seen it so many times. So just dress down for the occasion, especially when traveling to and from.
Okay.
And if you're, I just say, when you get off the airplane, turn your ring inside out or whatever. Put the diamond on the inside, because
Okay.
that's always a dead giveaway. And then that marks you, and they follow you, and they figure out where you are. And then the gardener, next thing you know, he's got a little device that he can connect to the Wi-Fi network and suck your information off as you are transferring data back and forth on a unprotected Wi-Fi network.
Okay.
All right.
Good to know.
Long answer, short question.
Well, no, it's good information. The other question I had when you were here, we didn't get a chance, but I was curious. You were talking about family sharing, and you said there's, better ways to set it up. You had some recommended ways to set it up. So I just was curious about that.
Okay, so with family sharing now, Apple has kind of come out with this whole family sharing idea, and they didn't used to have it, say, 6, 8 months ago. Family sharing really didn't exist. And so what would happen is families would have to create an Apple ID for their children, but they would have to lie about their child's age if they wanted to give them their own Apple ID, because Apple would not let a pre-14-year-old or an under 14-year-old have an Apple ID. So myself included, when I created Apple IDs for children, or parents did, they had to lie about their age. Now when you create an Apple ID for your child, you have the ability to say, hey, my child is under 14 years old, therefore I'm going to create an Apple ID for them based on my family account. And when you do that, that's in your system preferences in iCloud, and there's a Manage Family button in iCloud with the latest versions of the operating system. If you're on 10.9 or earlier, it doesn't. It's not there. But
Yeah,
manage,
I've got a 16 and a 14-year-old, so I thought it was more about managing your data and financial relationship, no?
Yes, but with financial relationship data, no. Data is through the phone company only. So
Okay.
you have them in, let's say you're Verizon, you have 4 phone numbers on your Verizon plan. And I have people ask me this all the time. What is better? Should I have an individual data plan for each of my children, or should I have one family bucket that we all eat off of as far as data
Yeah,
goes? And
I didn't mean data in that sense. I meant data in terms of like,
pictures.
the iCloud
I'm
calendar
sorry.
and
Yeah.
reminders and contacts, that kind of data.
Each iCloud account, each family member, if they are signed into individual iCloud accounts, has their own bucket of data, their own pictures, their own contacts, their own calendars. You can share calendars between each other,
Hmm.
but it's really not as easy to share contacts or groups of contacts. And photos, you can, if you and I are family, if we've designated that we're family, and the only way that you and I could be family is if we both, if both of our Apple IDs have the same credit card associated to them. So
Hmm.
therefore, we're purchasing off of the same card, so that takes care of that other question. Um, but but if I wanted to share lots and lots of pictures with you, and I'm a family member of yours, I could just hit the heart. And when I hit the heart on the bottom of the iPhone or the iPad, it automatically puts it into the favorites folder, which all the rest of my family get automatically.
Okay, so the family sharing is really just for pre-14-year-olds.
Yeah, in a way, yeah,
It doesn't
honestly.
really have any other benefits
Yeah.
to it.
It's a
Okay.
way of getting people who have had all these different Apple IDs in under one umbrella when it comes to purchasing.
Okay.
But if
Well,
you're
what we did was we just have one Apple ID that we
yes,
use for our financial relationship, and then we each have four individual that I'm going to call data. But
yes.
when I say
That's
data, I mean,
yeah, and
yeah.
that's exactly what I like it to be. You're the model family. But with some
That's
schools,
because you set us up.
good. But are your children in private or public?
Public.
Oh, okay. All right. Now, see, if they were in private schools force the children to have their own Apple IDs. So that model that you're using right now, where everybody purchases under the same account and then everybody has individual data IDs, that's perfect unless you have private school kids. In the private school,
Yeah.
then you get thrown for a loop, and then you really have to bring in the family plan, the family managing stuff.
Okay. Okay. Well, speaking of kids, I guess are there, so far so good, but there's a lot of YouTube videos and things like that, and I'm just not sure. Is there a way to monitor those?
Well, you've
What's
probably
being
heard me say this
watched?
before, and I say this as the opening statement whenever I talk about parenting. Nothing in the world beats picking your child's device up at unannounced times. Nothing, there's no better piece of software than your eyes looking at what in the world's going on at unannounced times. And that's hard as a parent. But with that out of the way, you said your youngest is 14, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at 14, they're pretty much already out of the gate and running full steam. And what I mean by that is they're not 11 and 10-year olds where you still have control of what's in front of their eyes 24 hours a day. You don't have that control over your 14, and it's definitely not the 16-year-old at this point. They are out into the world, so to speak. And with your younger kids, if they were younger, you could control the app. You could delete YouTube and add the YouTube for Kids app on. The problem is if you do that with a 14-year-old, the 14-year-old's going to revolt and run away from home if you do that, or they're going to, because the YouTube for Kids app is so filtered that basically you got Barney and that's it. There's not a lot outside of kids content on the YouTube Kids app, so that's out of the
Mm-hmm.
question. Um, if your child was using a Gmail account or had a YouTube account, which most kids these days do, and your child was logged into their Gmail account under YouTube, then you, as a parent, could go to a different computer, log in at youtube.com to their account, and you can see what they're watching. That's a
No, we don't. I don't have that situation. They have iCloud emails, and neither one of them have a YouTube account.
Okay. Well, then they're just kind of watching things, and there's no real history being recorded on the device, other than there's no like a YouTube history where you could go and look at it. Right now, kids
Hmm.
cannot delete individual pieces of history on the iPhone or the iPad. They can delete all of the history, but they can't delete individual pieces of that history. So you could go and look at historically where they've been on the device. You could, and again, 14 is pretty much, it's like getting the vaccine after the disease has already hit them. Uh, it's
So what if they deleted all the history? Is there any way to get that back or no?
not on an iPhone or an iPad. No. I mean,
No.
yes, there's a way where if they were using a backup, you could restore the phone, but that's more like, there's millions of dollars on the line,
Yeah, there's no cause, so I just was more
yeah.
curious.
The best thing I can say
Um,
is pick it up at random. See what apps your child is downloading, and whatever app they're downloading, you set it up to where you can get it automatically yourself. Meaning that if they're purchasing as you could go into the iTunes store and say automatically download apps that are purchased. They land on your device. When you see that new app that comes in, let's call it Snapagram. All right, so Snapagram lands on your device. If that app requires a username and a password, because you're going to open it. You're going to, as a parent, you are going to be a parent, and you're going to open it and say, let me see what my child just downloaded. Why did my child download this? Oh, it's some little strawberry shortcake app. It's not a big deal. Oh, it's dress up Justin Bieber app. No big deal. Oh, wait a minute. This requires a username and a password to log in. Why is that? Oh, it's some sort of social app. Oh, it's a video camera sharing app. Maybe I need to now go have a discussion with my child about why that might not be a good idea. So
okay.
the best thing to do is have that switch turned on that you get the app automatically.
And where's well, it's mostly just the videos, really.
Then, yeah, their history. You can't believe if people will tell you, oh, there's great parenting software out there for the iOS devices. No, there's not. And the reason there's not is you can go in you can turn on the parental controls on the iOS device and you could turn off Safari, but all you're doing is you're just plugging that one hole and they're going to go download Chrome, or they're going to go download whatever other browser is out there. There's Opera. There's a million of these browsers on the iOS device. So it's sort of like whack-a-mole, where you hit it and then it pops up somewhere else, and you hit it pops up somewhere else. So it's hard to monitor what's going on your child's device other than picking that thing up and looking at it, looking through it. If somebody tells you, oh, there's a great piece of software that monitors your child's behavior on the iOS device, it is not true, because an iOS device it's built on what Apple calls a closed garden structure, and that means that this app is not allowed to look at what this app is doing unless Apple allows that to happen. And every app that goes onto the device is filtered through Apple. So there are no bootleg apps that land on your phone that give you the ability to do things that Apple is not aware of. It just doesn't happen. All right.
Okay. Well, like I said, so far so good, and very lucky, blessed to have trustworthy,
Is the
kids.
14-year-old girl or boy?
But it's always the monitoring that I just,
Is the
I'm
14-year-old
not so good at this stuff.
is the younger one a boy or a girl?
Boy.
Okay. So the older is a girl?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. The reason I asked that is that 13-year-old stage, that's the roughest one, and that's the one that I see the 13-year-old females. That's the storm right there. But
Yeah, she's great.
yeah, but
They're
that's
both
16.
great.
She's been there, done that.
Yeah.
Right.
The other question I had was photos, and I guess I wondered if there's like a maximum number of photos that could be in a library before it gets to be a problem, before it
It used to. The answer to that is yes, there is. And it's not really necessarily the number of photos, it's more of the equivalent total of data within those photos.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, if you shot in a 20 megapixel camera, you're gonna be able to put a lot less pictures into the bucket versus a 1 megapixel. Let me see maximum number. Hello, Emma, how are you? Oh, she's muted. Emma Day's muted as well. Maximum number of photos, Mac. Man, I tell you what, I hate that they call the new iPhoto photos. It just makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
You know what? You're not going to hit it. People have over 200,000. I think the number last time I checked was 200,000. So
Okay.
I don't think you're there. And I have people that have libraries of 250 gigs, 300 gigs, pretty big libraries. Now, the bigger your library, the slower the whole process is, of opening and closing and
Right.
manipulating. So I do have some people, especially when you have an older machine, that they will cut their photo library as of like say 2010, and everything prior to 2010 is its own
Yeah.
individual library. And really, all they're doing is they're kind of putting it into carbon freeze so that one day the technology or the computer that they use will be fast enough that they can merge those pictures back in again, and then they can have both of those libraries being manipulated at once into one library.
Yeah. And if I just type in Photos Library in my Finder window, it'll say Photos Library because I feel like I'm missing some early pictures, and maybe they're on CDs that I don't know about, but I thought I had put them in a library, and I had trouble with my library, so I've got multiple ones.
I think I remember because you had like a white iMac over on one desk and a black iMac on
Yeah,
another desk,
that's
right?
exactly right.
All right, and
Yeah.
I remember you had multiple iPhoto libraries kind of floating all over the place. At least I
Yeah,
think
and
you
I
did.
thought I combined them in one, but I feel like some of my early photos are missing.
So
So,
here's a little
if
trick here's a trick that you can use to kind of peek into there and see what's going on. If you, I'm going to tell you the way that I wouldn't do it first, and then I'll tell you the way that I would do it. Because the way that I wouldn't do it is the way that anybody would tell you the way to do it. If you open up Photos and you hold down the Option key, when you open up Photos, it will ask you, would you like to open up this library or that library? And the problem with that is if you're going to open up an older library, it's going to take all this time to go through the whole process of converting from this old iPhoto library that you last opened in 2011 into the new Photos version. And that's going to take up some time. So in order to skip that and to make things a little bit faster, what you really want to do is take the library and not have to open it up in Photos. When I say Photos, I mean the application Photos. But instead, just to peek in it and see what pictures might be there. Here's an easy way to do that. When you go into your users folder and you go into the pictures folder, you see your one or multiple libraries. So there's a great example here on mine. I have several different libraries on this computer right now. I have one called iMac Library. I have one called iPhoto Library. And here's another one called iMac Library. And notice the two different icons. This one is because Photos has taken it over. This one is from an old iPhoto that I've never thrown away. And then I've got this test library. So let's say this test library is the one that I think those old pictures are in. But because it's got this old icon on it of this flower and not the newer icon with sort of the NBC peacock logo looking thing, the color wheel, I can peek inside it. And this is what I do. I find that library that I suspect and I do a right click. When I get a right click, I see Show Package Contents. Now, Apple would not want you to do this, but I'm going to tell you that you can do this. You can go into Show Package Contents, and in that, this is showing you all the hidden folders that are inside that library, one of which is the Masters folder. And that master folder has all the original pictures in there. So you could go back to 2011 in December, on December the 15th, and you could find all the pictures that you took on December the 15th. And if I selected any of these folders, they would have that. So that would be a nice way to peek inside there. Do you want me to walk through that one more time really fast?
no, I wrote that down. I've got that. That's great.
And that avoids you having to what's the word? Convert that one older library into a new library. And the reason I don't like people doing that is because oftentimes they will forget that they did it. They'll come back 2 weeks later. They'll open up iPhoto or Photos, and Photos will default open to the last library they created, which is this older one. And then they call me saying, Scotty, all my pictures are gone. Ever since you told me to do this, now none of my pictures are there. And they just forgot that they hold down they right click, or they hold down the Option key when they turn on Photos, and it lets them choose the other library.
Okay.
Emiday, if you can hear us, you are muted right now. And if you look at your GoToMeeting control panel to the right of your screen, you'll see a little icon of a microphone, and there's a little slash through it. And if you click on that, you can unmute yourself. So, Emiday, if you're hearing me, I'm going to put a little picture up that you can kind of see, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's on your GoToMeeting control panel to the right. And I've got a little picture up right now pointing to where it might be. And if you right click on that, Emiday's a pro at this, so she shouldn't have a problem. All right, I see you're trying to get your camera on. Meanwhile, you help me with your name again. Is it Siobhan? Siobhan?
Siobhan, that's
Siobhan.
right. Yeah.
Siobhan, you got
I'm
it.
trying to think if I have any other questions. I can't think of any right now.
Okay. All right.
Um,
Well, let me see if we can get Emma Day. Emma Day, I see you got the camera on, but it's not share my webcam. It's in the audio, which is above that. And it's a little icon next to your name, Emma Day. It's a little microphone icon. And you click that to the, and that should give you the ability to unmute yourself. If not, Emma Day, I know I'm scheduled to see you tomorrow, so we're not going to worry about it too much. Siobhan, you have anything else? Any follow-ups?
I can't think of anything unless you have any new tips or tricks. I did just did all the updates to El Capitan.
Yeah, that's right
Is
here.
anything special I need to know?
Not really. No, a lot of under the hood kind of stuff. It's not the largest update in the world, so it's not causing major problems. I would have said to wait another week or so, but you've done it now. That's why this was.
Oh, really?
Well, in my opinion, my advice to anybody is to never jump on the update right when it comes out. Because as you can see, you are running 10.11.0. And that last digit is like, oh, good, Emma Day, you got your microphone on.
Yeah, thank
Yeah, you got it. That last digit is the real version of it. So you're on version 0 of this piece of software. It's like when iOS 9 comes out, you never jump on iOS 9.0.0, you wait. Now, some people say, oh, 9.0.1 is out, I'll jump on it now. That's not a smart thing either, because all the 0.0.1 is a small couple of fixes to iOS 9 in the first place. So then 9.0.2 comes out, and then 0.3. Wait until you get that second place digit. So for instance, if I were to go to About This Mac, and you would see on my computer, if it pulls up, you would see 10.10.5. There it is, 10.10.5. That means that Apple has fixed this operating system 5 times, and that's a good thing. But if this were on 10.10.0, they haven't fixed it yet. So the El Capitan you downloaded, while it's very stable, I never recommend to download it right away. Always wait about a week, maybe even 2 weeks, and then jump in, because the update will be there.
Ah. Is there a way to update it once you've updated, or you're still on 0?
Yes, you're on 0 until Apple rolls out the fixes. See, let's say Apple has 3,000 people that beta test something. Then one night, maybe a Tuesday night, they say, okay, we're going to release it. And they push a button, and all their guys sit around and the girls sit around saying, all right, we hope that no problems. Oh, wait a minute, we're getting reports in that it's killing battery life on MacBook Airs from 2013. Oh, it's causing the illuminated power light to stay on MacBook Airs, for whatever. There are all kinds of issues that those 3,000 people didn't encounter that 300 million people can encounter. So when you download any software from any company, right when it's available, you are a beta tester for that software. That's why you see so many businesses still in Windows 95, because they know it works. They don't want to update. They just stick with what they know. So.
That's smart, because the update was a real pain in the neck, because we have this, family financial Apple ID.
Yeah.
And then we all have our individual, what I'll call data IDs, and my husband was pulling his hair out.
Well, I have had, and I take it with a grain of salt. I mean, any problem is important to that person, but I have had more people complaining about iOS 9.0 on the iPhones than usual. But people complain about every single version of software to me. I hear it every day. So it's kind of like I don't even really pay attention to it. But I have had more complaints lately on iOS 9. So I haven't experienced any issues, and I've got it on probably 7 devices. But everybody's different. All right. Emma Day, what have you got for me? Siobhan, you can go, or you can hang out while Emma Day asks a couple questions.
Okay.
Whatever you want.
Well,
Emma
thank
Day,
you so much for your help. I appreciate it.
no problem. Emma Day, what have you got?
Yes, I was going to ask you. I just clicked on About the Mac, and it said 10.10.5. Would that be me?
Yes, that's you. That's what you
It is?
have.
Is that bad?
No, it's great. It's fine. That is the latest stable, super stable version of the operating system. And
That's Capitan, right?
El Capitan is 10.11. So
Okay.
you don't need to download El Capitan anytime soon.
It keeps asking me if I want to update.
And you heard what I was just talking to the other person, Siobhan, about, and that is skip it for a while. Wait. It's
Okay.
like when a chef cooks a brand new meal out of blowfish,
Mm,
and then you don't want to be the first person that eats that meal because
yeah.
blowfish can cause a problem. Blowfish can be
I don't want to
delicious.
be the last one either.
Right, just skip it. Let some other people sample it first and let them say, "Oh, it's wonderful, it's fantastic." Then you order the new blowfish from the recipe from the chef. All right?
Well, did you tell her you couldn't get all your pictures in photos?
I did not tell her that. One of her issues was that she's got pictures in lots of different locations on her computer, and she's trying to figure out a way to bring all those pictures into photos.
I think I've got that too.
I don't think so. You have a lot of pictures in photos. You might have a few pictures laying around, but most of them are in photos. And that's something we can check on tomorrow. If you write that down on your list, we can check for random pictures to be put into photos. Because I do like everybody's pictures to live in one place, and that would be photos.
Yeah, and I don't think they are. And let me ask you this. If you're in the cloud, if you delete something on one thing, does it go away on the other one? Because it doesn't look like mine are.
It depends on what you define as something. Emails, yes. Calendars and contacts, yes. What else do you think you might be deleting?
It doesn't look like the emails are being deleted on all of them.
So and I think you're using an @me.com email address, so that is a cloud-based email. That's called IMAP. And those should be syncing. So that's something that we can check on tomorrow too. But I bet they're going to sync. It might take them 90 seconds or so, but they should sync.
Well, from what either they're bringing them right back, the ads that are coming, or it seems like they're not. But maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, you have specific emails that keep kind of showing up.
Yeah.
Right.
The very same emails that are shopping things, that I delete and then they come back.
Yeah, that can definitely happen. But there are ways that we can look at those different emails and see if they're a duplicate or if they are multiple versions, multiple email send outs from these companies, mass emailings. And that's probably, I think you're right there. I think they're probably mass emailings.
Okay, I'm gonna have to ask you. I'm gonna have to put that down in the iCloud things, and there are a few things.
Okay.
I can't right click, to check anything.
You don't need to right click most of the time.
If I wanted to check my photos somewhere else, I couldn't do it, could I?
You don't need a right click to do that. If you want to check, and I'm scared here, Day. You're asking me to open up. You're asking me, hey, I want to open up the hood of this car and start pulling wires out. You know how that goes. But this is all I would do, and oh gosh, I tell you, Ricky's going to be mad at me if I help you mess your own computer up.
I stayed up till 2:00 in the morning trying to do a few things and couldn't do it.
I'm sure you did. So if you open up a Finder window and you go to your users folder and your house, why am I even telling you how to do this?
Because I want to know.
I know, and I'm handing you this gun with these bullets in it, and the safety's off. So there is a folder called Pictures in Day, and in that folder, really the only thing that you need to see is your pictures, or your photos library. And your photos library is going to have a little picture that looks like a color wheel, like the one that's up on my screen right now. Everything else in there, if they're just random pictures, I can help you tomorrow to move those in. But I'm telling you right now, mark my words. If I come to see you tomorrow and you have done something with those pictures, I am never, ever, I'm going to lock you back down again for your own good.
Lord. Okay, now if I go that far and I want to see see if there's anything if I want to see a JPEG or a test thing, can I click on it and it'll open?
Yeah, you can, but
some of them haven't opened when I've done that.
Curiosity kills the cat.
I know.
And you are, and the cat only has 9 lives, and you're on your 11th life right now.
No, 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 no. I'm trying so hard to be good,
Well,
but not because I want to be.
well, we had a really good beneficial week last week where things stayed healthy for the whole week, and I'll be able to ascertain if there's any craziness this week. So we're on a good roll here, so let's keep it up. But when you ask me questions like I need to go digging into that folder, that worries me a little bit, so I'm really scared. I'm not going to sleep tonight now, you know that, right?
I can't tell. Well, I bet. I can't tell whether I opened up or got Telescreen or Avangate caught up or not, because I couldn't tell if it's on there or if it's not on there. I tried to update it, but it wouldn't let me, I don't think.
You don't need to. You really don't need to do. You don't.
But I need those movies. I can't get those movies if I don't have it updated.
That's not true.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's not true at all. Just because there's an update to something doesn't mean that you have to have it. And in your case, you really don't need a lot of updates. Oh, look, I've got a machine right next to me over here that you can't see it, but right there it is. And I have I hardly ever update that thing, and it runs fine. It's great. It's another
But
iMac.
I can't get those movies up, the old movies, the old birthday parties and things.
You write that down on the list. I bet you I can. I bet you
All
I can get them up
I'm gonna write it down.
without
I'm gonna
updating a
write a
thing.
lot of things.
All right. Okay.
Is
You got?
it just you and me?
Yeah. My other people have left for the night.
Well, I think you need to go eat. I know. So I will see you tomorrow.
All right.
Put on working pants.
Yeah. All right. Well, you have that good list for me, and we'll knock it all out. All right. I'll
Is
see
it
you.
30 or 4?
4 o'clock. 4 o'clock.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
If I'm running ahead of schedule, I'll send you a text. But I think tomorrow I'll probably be right about that time for you, right on that 4 o'clock date. All right.
Okay. All right.
All right. Have a good evening. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.